What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy BT, and today we're working on the ISF. We've got some valve cover gaskets and things that need to be done. This is the first major engine work that we have to do to this car, but what actually happened is I went to go and do the spark plugs one day and noticed there was oil in there. So I said, okay, we're going to have to order some parts. So we ordered the parts. I will have a full list of all the parts used, but we're going to go ahead and get started with getting everything disassembled so we can get to the areas we need. All right, so first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to take off all of the plastic. So I'm going to take off the engine cover here. Get this out of the way. Then we've got all of these plastics here that kind of hold things in place. So make sure you got a bunch of screwdrivers and clip poppers handy. All right, so before we get started, we're going to go ahead and pull this relay right here. We're going to pull that out. That's for the fuel pump. And then we're going to release this guy right here. And then we should be good to go. All right, so in for the close-up, if you notice right there, there's like this little black plastic tab. Well, guess what? It hooks right onto this right here. So when you slide this in like so, that little piece actually will press on here and click in. So the way that you remove it is you actually have to get you a flathead and you're going to pry it back until you can see that piece. Push back like so. When you push it back, go ahead and grab some pliers or so and grab on your relay and pull it up. You can kind of help use your flathead to kind of, wiggle and pry it up a little bit. But go ahead and grab some pliers and pull, and you should be able to get that relay right out of there with no issues. All right, so we've got our relay taken out. So we'll put that off to the side. Next up, we'll disconnect this right here. So just pull on this. Pull that out. All right, so now that we have our relay removed and our resistor disconnected, we're going to go ahead and crank the vehicle until it dies so that we can release the fuel pressure. All right, so now that our fuel pressure is good to go, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery and get to work. Grab your 10mm, unscrew the nuts, and then you can take your battery out. All right, so as you can see, we're trying to get to this side of the engine bay. This is where we're working on the spark plugs. They're not in the easiest location to reach, but nonetheless, this is where we're going to be working. Right over here. So yeah, we can see everything that's going on here on both sides. All right, so that's our fuel. Okay, so now we just keep disassembling until we get access to all of this here. Yeah, so let's get to it. So the trick to dealing with these little guys is I'm going to use a nice fine pick tool here. So if you look here, you can see there are these little plastic pieces that sit on the grooves of the stud. So all you have to do is really get in there and just pull on one of the sides, and that should be enough to release it. And that way you can save and not damage a lot of these because they're all over the place, and we got to pull a lot of them up in order to get to this job. All right, so we got a 10mm here, and we're going to go ahead and start working on this section right here. We're going to get these bolts out of the way. All right, so now what we're able to do, and if you need to take a visual picture of this, get in for a close-up so you can remember where each one of these plugs go. So this is what we're dealing with here. You can see there was a screw in there. There was a nut holding that down, and then there was another screw here. And then for the top, we had three that took the cover off. So 1, 2, and 3. So we're just going to keep working to disassemble this area here. Alright, so this main harness, to get this main harness out of its place within the enclosure, I used this pick tool here and I was able to press it in to release the tension on the little holder that was there. So I was able to push on that to get that loose. So pick tools are going to be very handy for this job. And then to get this out of the housing, I had to press down on this tab right here with a flathead, and I was able to slide it out of here. So now everything is kind of out of the way in a sense. You can see here, once you move this out of the way, you do have better access to this area here where you're going to have to get in to get to these bolts here. So, so far we're moving right along. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and get this ear box removed and out of the way. And while we're in here, it looks like we are due for a filter change. Alright, next I'm just going to remove anything that's on the passenger side that's in the way. So there's this little bracket here. Just going to take this one off. Alright, so underneath the battery section is another module. So we're going to just take the 3 bolts off of the module. Let's bring you in for a closer look here. So there's the module there. We've got 3 bolts holding that down. We're just going to go ahead and loosen those bolts, take those bolts out so that we have room to move it around to access inside here because it is a little tight. All right, so in here we've got this, right in here, we've got this little bolt here that's holding on to the dipstick. So we're going to have to take that off and anything else that's attached to that valve cover. Alright, so next we're going to be working on the fuel pump. There's that plastic cover on top. Supposedly it has sound deadening material. So we're just going to pry this to get these clips undone to get this off. And after that's off, I believe we will move on to the fuel line here. Now what we're going to do here with this fuel line, get this thing to focus here, what we're going to be doing with this fuel line here is make sure you hold this bottom bolt in place. We're only looking to screw the top one off. Once we get that off, take your connectors off. There should be 2 studs. You can see one of them right there. There's 2 of them on both sides. Just screw those off and then you'll be able to take out the fuel pump and do it on the other side as well. Alright, so there's the cover there. So this is how it snaps into place here. So here's the cover. You can see how it snaps into place. So this is what's sitting on top of that fuel pump. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take off this rubber hose right here. I get a nice small needle nose pliers. I'm going to take that off, and then we can move on to the bigger nut, and then take off those 2 bolts and get it out. All right, so I'm going to be using a 21 and a 3/4. 21 to hold the lower nut, and 3/4 on the upper. Alright, so as you're making your way along, this is what it should look like. You should be able to pull up on this here. You can see now you should have enough room to disconnect that there. The only thing left that we need to do is take off the rubber hose and undo these 2 screws holding it in, and then we should be able to pull it out with no issues. There's also one other spot that we have to remove, which is this right here, and that will be a 22 to get right onto here like so. And remove that. All right, so we're still working on the fuel pump. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the ignition coils, the 4 on this side right here, as we continue to take everything off until we can get to the valve cover. And when it comes to this part, it's probably better to use a hand tool. It just makes it a little easier to grab and hold that grip firm without that torque kind of twisting it off. So we're going to switch over to the manual way. All right, so we've got the fuel pump out. I wasn't able to get the rubber line off, so we're just going to suspend it for now. Next, there's these three nuts that are sitting on top of the valve cover. So we're just going to go ahead and loosen those. All right, so here are the learnings. You're going to have to take this little box out of the way. There is a bolt here and one on the side. That will allow you to move this, which will really help to access where you need to access. You got to take this off. Basically, anything that is attached to that cover needs to be taken off. All of these harness pieces unplugged. And I think we are now ready to take off the 10 mils that are all the way around. So we're going to go ahead and use a wobble socket for that to kind of get in the spots that are a little tough to reach. But after we take those off, we should be able to pull off the valve cover. All right, so we've successfully removed all the bolts off the valve cover. Everything should be disconnected, so we should be able to pull it right off. All right, so to get the valve cover off, it's going to be different for everybody. But what I use is this tool right here. And the part that was stuck the hardest was this for me. So all I did was kind of come in from the top like so. And just kind of wedge it right where the gasket is and knock it down. And worked my way across the top until it loosened up here. So I should be able to get this thing pulled off now. There we go. So that was the spot where it was the tightest, so we're going to go ahead and get that pulled off. So you just got to be patient with it. Looks like we've got another spot in the back that's a little stuck, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can wedge this in here. So before you can remove the cover, you're going to have to remove these external Torx flange screws from this section here. So I'm going to have to order a set of E-Torx to fit the head of this here, but for the time being, we took the bolts that came with it. These are 12 millimeter, tightened them onto here, and was able to use this to take it off. I should have the new part later today. So we should have those to reinstall these, but for now, this will do the job. finally got it out. All I can say is just be patient, take your time. It'll eventually come out. So here is the valve cover. We're going to go ahead and get started with the changing of the seals and the gasket here. So a couple of things here. So we've got 1, 2, underneath 3. There's a filter in here, 4, and this place where the fuel pump goes. So we're just going to go ahead and do each one here little by little until we are done. So, all right, so here's the part number for this side that we're working on here, which is the passenger side. So we're going to open that up. You can kind of see it there as it runs, exactly how it's going to sit on here. So this is what we will swap this out with. Then we've got this right here. This is the fuel pump gasket, so that's good there. As I mentioned before, we've got this right here. We're gonna have to pull this out. This is 2/10, so we're gonna get that pulled out. There we go. We've got this little filter mechanism that's sitting in here. You can see it's a little bent. I believe it sits like this and then sits right here on top like so. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get that swapped out. So I feel good about that because look at that little guy right there, crushed. Okay, so we're gonna swap this out. We're also gonna change out this little gasket right here. All right, so here's our part. We're gonna go ahead and grab this, slide it right in here, get everything lined up nicely, nice and flush, so it's in there. And we've got the new filter placed right here. So all we have to do is place this back on top and tighten back down. All right, so next we're just gonna go ahead and take this guy out right here. This is the old one. Put that off to the side. I'm going to clean this up right here. Alright, so with that cleaned up, then all we're going to do is slide in our new gasket here. You can see how nice and easy that goes in. Just run your finger along the edge there and slide it right into place. Alright. And with that in place, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get this fuel pump gasket out. So we're just going to take this, knock it down here till it loosens to fall right out. Then we'll get rid of that. Flip this over, clean this up, and slide in the new one. Alright, so we're looking pretty fresh from this angle here. Everything looks good. Alright, so with this prepped and ready to go, we're going to go ahead, take these parts right here. We're going to head back over to the engine. And we're going to replace these guys right here, as well as we will bring these two as well and put them in their appropriate locations. Okay, in this location here, this is where one of the gaskets came from and the other one is right here. So we've got the two new ones right here. We're going to put those in a safe spot. We're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this one out right here with this little very thin pick tool, so we won't damage anything. Just going to get it right on the edge of the gasket here and just pull that right out. So with our new ones here, we're going to go ahead and drop these in their appropriate locations. All right, those are rocking and ready to go. All right, so next we've got to take out these guys right in here. These come out fairly easily. Just pull these up here. There we go. So here are the old, and we'll go ahead and put in the new ones. But before we slide in the new ones, we're actually going to take out spark plugs with this right here, my handy dandy tool. So we're going to go ahead and get these spark plugs taken out. And this one wasn't too bad. So it was really the two middle ones that had the issue. Alright, so here's the pack of spark plugs that I'm using. All I'm going to do is get them prepped up with some anti-seize and get them put in place. Alright, so once we get all four nice and lubricated with the anti-seize, we go ahead and put them back in. Alright, so now we'll just go back in reverse and install all of the new spark plugs. So after you get your spark plugs put in, we're going to go ahead and replace these right here. Grab these four and just put them back in place. Alright, and once you're finished with that, I believe the majority of everything we need to do on this side has been completed. Alright, now with everything in place, it's time to put it back together. All right, now we just do everything in reverse and get this puppy buttoned back up. Before we reinstall the studs here, we're going to replace those two O-rings as well. That's also parts that were ordered. All right, so these three center bolts that we took out of the valve cover, you're going to go ahead and get your washers for these. You're going to replace this with a nice fresh one. Slide that over here like so. And look how good that looks. All right, so for these bolts, this is going to be a 15 foot-pounds torque, and all of the valve cover bolts around, those are going to be 9 foot-pounds. So let's get a torque in. All right, after double checking everything, making sure everything was torqued down, we are good to go. We're going to finish the disassembly, we are actually going to throw in our brand new ignition coils here. So we got some new ignition coils here, so we're going to throw these in as we replace the old ones. And we should have a good running car once we're done. Alright, so last piece here to reinstall the high pressure fuel pump. So last piece here to reinstall the high pressure fuel pump, we're going to go ahead and replace this piece right here. Now this piece that we took out here, we are going to reinstall it. Now you can see there's an old one on there. We're going to go ahead and take it off. And we're going to put the new one on. So one goes on this side, and there's the piece that slides here. This goes beneath it, so we got to slide it underneath. Make sure you don't drop it, because if you do, you're going to have to go get it. And now we'll be torquing down the nuts for the high pressure fuel pump at 22 foot-pounds. All right, so with the new spark plugs in, the new coil packs, we're good to go. All we have to do is redo what we undid to get everything back buttoned up, and then hop over to the other side, and we should be able to finish off this valve cover job, spark plug job, just a nice refresher. All right, here's the recap for the driver's side. You're going to want to take off this right here so you can move this out of the way. We've already removed this from the first go around. You're going to have to take the two bolts off that hold this and move it out of the way. And when you're working in the corner, you're going to have to kind of wiggle through this spot right here. That's why it's really important to have a wobble socket. I think that's all of the nuances for the driver's side. And then just like the other side, you saw we took the tool and we just knocked it right there. And unlike the other side, this side came off a lot easier. So this one got stuck in the far corner side right in there, in the corner. So I had to take the plastic tool yet again and get on that corner and jam it down. So yeah, some plastic tools are going to be well needed to not damage any parts, but be able to get that valve cover released. And we have success yet again. So now we're going to do everything that we did to the last one to this. We're going to get the gaskets in place, clean everything up, slide it back in, and shut it down. All right, so here we go. Cover's ready to be reinstalled. At this point, when you have the cover back on, I'd say it'd be safe now to go ahead and add those O-rings to the section right there where those E-Torx bolts go right there. So I'd say now's a good time to add them in just so you don't lose them in the event as you're sliding this cover over and they fall off. All right, so right now we're just going to reassemble the harness, get everything plugged back up, and we're close to finish. So as you can see from this here, these sets right here, these two, you don't have to plug out. You don't have to plug out this one, but you do have to plug out the rest of these in order to, separate it out. So after you got the E-Torx bolts in place and you've got your little O-rings put in place, make sure to put this cover back on. After this cover is on, get your new part. Slide your new part on top. After that's done, put the fuel pump back in place and reconnect up your lines here. These are the little washers that are going to be used. One will be placed right here. This will come over on top of it. This little guy here will come over on top of it. And then the last one will be at the top of this when you're screwing this piece in right here. And yeah, once you get that fuel pump back in place, the job is just about done. Alright, and just double check all your connections, make sure everything is buttoned up and nothing was missed on plugging back your harnesses, fuel lines hooked up, everything looking good. Alright, so after you've checked to make sure nothing has been missed, in this case, I've got to hook back up my airbox, but the filter, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that filter while I have it out. Everything looks good. Nothing is missing. All you have to do is put everything back with the airbox, put the cover back on, put the battery in place, and then you're good to go. All right, so one last thing before we're ready to finish up this job. We got to plug that back in because we did do these two things in order to release the fuel pressure, and we also have to put back in this fuel pump relay. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is definitely a task to do, but it's not too much that it can't be done. Give yourself some time. Again, take your time while doing this. Don't get frustrated. Tools. So while doing this job, I did find a nice low profile wobble socket that has a 10 millimeter on it. So it's a nice low profile. It should do the job good. I'm going to pop a picture of it up right here. I bought it in a 1/4 and also bought it in a 3/8 to make sure that in the future it'll be a lot easier and a lot faster when doing this job. Also, ordered this morning, received today. We've got a nice Torx kit here. So we've got the Torx on the bottom here, and then we've got the E-Torx on top. So just as a note, the one that we're dealing with on the fuel pump is an E7, but now I've got this kit that I can use in the future whenever I've got any jobs that require this type of setup. So that's it for this video. I'll be sure to leave all the part numbers that were utilized for this job in the description. I think that about covers everything that we've done today. So as a recap, we went ahead, we did valve cover seals, we replaced some other internal seals while we were in there, we did the spark plugs, and we got new coil packs installed. So this was quite an overhaul of a job, but as you can see, yeah, I think it's going to run really good once it's done. It's your boy BT, thank you for checking out this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.